This is part 2 of me talking about the 5 partitions of South Asia. So let's go into the first break in 1937, Burma. The first crack appeared somewhat quietly, and in 1937, Burma was separated from India. On paper, it was constitutional reform, part of the Government of India Act. But beneath that decision, there were deeper tensions. Burma had long been tied to India economically and administratively. Indian migrants worked in its cities, Indian capital dominated part of its economy, and by the 1930s, resentment had deepened into nationalism. For many Burmese, separation was an extension of being rejected as part of the Indian Empire. And this separation and fracture, or partition, was left incomplete. Trade systems unraveled, migration laws lagged behind, communities were left stranded between two worlds. And when the Japanese invaded in 1942, hundreds of thousands left on foot towards India, in one of the most brutal refugee crises of the war. So the first partition happened, and this really showed what partition meant. It wasn't a clean-cut border. It was chaos, displacement, and unfinished separation. So now let's talk about the second fracture, Arabia. While Burma broke away into the east, there was another fracture happening on the western frontier. And it's kind of hard to believe, but for decades, the Arabian frontier had been tied to India. Aden, which is today in Yemen, was governed as a part of British India. Its budgets, laws, and administration were handled by Indian institutions. In places like Qatar and Bahrain, regulations were written in terms of Indian rupees and enforced by officials tied to the Indian political service. To the British, this was administrative reality. Arabia was part of the Indian imperial system. Beginning in 1937 with Aden and culminating in 1947, this system was dismantled. Responsibility was transferred away from India, connections were cut, and the Arabian territories began to evolve separately into what we now know as the Gulf. So that was how India became severed from its western frontier. In the next and final part, we'll be covering the most commonly known partition, and that's of India and Pakistan, and then later the liberation of Bangladesh.